Galaxy, this is me, Boba Fett.
Welcome to the Star Wars Exchanges Book of Boba Fett review show, hosted by Ari and Mike. Join us as we lay honor and respect upon the land of Mos Espa.
I intend to rule with respect.
What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast for another Book of Boba Fett review. Episode 2 just came out, directed by Steph Green. The episode is titled The Tribes of Tatooine, and wow, what an episode. But first of all, got to introduce my lovely co-host, Mike. How's it going?
Hi, Ari. I'm excited once again to be talking about Book of Boba Fett, and as you said, what an amazing episode. Lots of things happen. We finally got a 50-minute plus episode early on in the season, so I cannot wait to start talking about it and break it all down.
Absolutely. Can't wait to get stuck into this one. But before we do, got to introduce our guest for the day. Great friend of mine, and Mike's, of course, and a guest who's been on the podcast before twice. One of my favorite people in the Instagram community, also recently engaged. So massive congrats to him. Noah, aka the Star Warrior. How you going, man?
Thanks, man. I'm doing good. I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. So before we get stuck into anything else, spoiler warning. Spoilers ahead. If you haven't seen the episode, go watch it, then come back. This is your warning. Yeah, I mean, let's just get stuck into our overall thoughts of this current episode. So yeah, Noah, you start us off. What do you think of episode 2?
I said I really liked episode 1. Episode 2 absolutely blew episode 1 away in every regard. I think it took every aspect of episode 1 that I liked and just kind of expanded on it in really interesting ways. I think the added length really helped as well.
And Mike, overall thoughts? What do you think episode 2?
Beautiful episode. Come on. I think Noah said it well, where it's like, oh heck yeah, everything that I loved about episode 1 for me, the way this episode expanded upon those things, and you just got one of my worries was that we were just going to be stuck in these flashback sequences and it's just going to be boring and stuff, because I did like episode 1's flashback stuff, but I was just more caught up with the present. Now I think I'm on the side of the party of being like, give me more of these flashbacks. That was so powerful. This episode was moving, and I just really care about Boba Fett now. Like, literally is one of my favorite Star Wars characters now. So, and I know Ari, we watched it last night and we had a good chat afterwards. But what do you think about all this?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with what Noah said. I think as much as I liked episode 1, this episode just blew that out of the water. Yeah, this was insane. I would not have expected me to enjoy 40 minutes of flashbacks and only 10 minutes of present day, but I absolutely did. It was like, honestly, just astounding. Like, I did not expect to feel that much and get this sort of a story from like a Boba Fett continuation story. Like, I just did not see that coming. The way they're presenting all this is just insane. So yeah, let's just get stuck into this episode and just start breaking it down.
First of all, let's talk about that opening shot, right? You have Fennec bringing this captured assassin, and to me, it just immediately it reminded me of like some Netflix shows where like they have a hook at the end of the episode, which we'll talk about at the end, but I appreciated that this series has no hooks. It's just we're going to end it where it ends, and that's it. There's nothing about, hey, at the end, we're going to leave you with something mysterious or a call with the enemy or some last minute meeting or discussion that's going to like hook you for the next episode. They don't really care if you're interested or not. They're going to feed you anyways. So at the beginning, it just spoke of like if I was watching a Netflix series where it's like, oh shoot, we're continuing right where we left off with Fennec when she captured that guy with the assassin. Now she was leading him in, and I love how when the doors open, for Jabba's palace only opened far enough to let Fennec in, and the assassin had to like crouch down. And I was like, oh shoot, we're back in the present day. Awesome, cool. I'm in with this. I want to see I want to unravel what this organization is and who these assassins are, because in the last episode, one of the highlights of the modern day was the whole fight sequence and trying to find who these assassins were. So it's like, all right, we're gonna get some answers now. Where people spend all week talking about, are these guys tied with Crimson Dawn? Are these guys new and stuff? So it's like, all right, here's my intrigue, here's my hook, I'm in. So I thought that whole opening sequence was we'll talk about the Rancor stuff, but holy cow, what a great way to start this amazing episode. I loved every second of it, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. And like, I think, we did talk a lot last week about, I was sort of like, yeah, that the thing episode 1 was missing was a hook. However, just before episode 2 came out, I did rewatch episode 1. And while it didn't have like a Grogu level insane reveal or anything, I did, realize to myself at the end of the present day things that were happening in the first episode, there was the captured assassin. And then I was like, oh, damn, I wonder what's going to happen with him. And then that, unraveled all this stuff that played out in episode 2. So yeah, that was awesome. Noah, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, first off, Mike, what you said about the door to Jabba's palace, or excuse me, Boba's palace, opening.
How dare you?
Or opening only just enough for Fennec to walk through. I thought that was really funny. I didn't notice that. But yeah, I thought this was a great way to open the episode. And you're right. I'm actually a lot more invested in the flashback sequences now than I was in episode 1. Not that I think there's anything wrong with the present day stuff. Actually, I thought the present day stuff was also even more interesting in this episode. But I really liked the whole Rancor bit. I saw it coming because I didn't think that Boba would have gotten a new Rancor in that short of a time. And I certainly didn't think Bib Fortuna would have gone out of his way to get a new Rancor. But that was a good scene. So far, I just really like seeing how Boba kind of presents himself as this leader, kind of asserts his dominance in a very unique way, different from Jabba, obviously different from Bib, just kind of going around, on his own 2 feet, as he says. And then you had the scene where he goes and basically interrogates the mayor, and that was just great stuff. I thought the way that he interacted.
Yeah. No, for me, the Rancor thing, I actually fell for it. So I was surprised. I was like, oh, maybe Bib, replaced the Rancor, as we saw. I mean, I thought maybe the Bad Batch scene was setting up something like that, or whatever, that, Bib Fortuna had an interest in Rancor. So I like fell for it. And when it revealed to be nothing, I started bursting out laughing. And can I just say, the writing to this series, the dialogue is just amazing. Like, Jon Favreau literally deserves all the respect in the world for what he's been able to not only do, for Mandalorian, which I like, but this series so far, it's just like, wow. Like, I'm telling you, that Rancor scene, that was just brilliant writing. That for me what spoke of, oh, hey, all the diehard Star Wars fans are gonna know that, the Rancor was killed in Return of the Jedi ultimately. But for all the new people watching, it's like they probably had that same reaction I did of like, oh, okay. And so I love that. And it also spoke volumes of, this Rancor is infamous, or Jabba's, menagerie pet is infamous throughout the sands of Tatooine, where this guy was like scared of what was going to come. There's been stories of it. I love that like aspect to it. Just because I feel like word gets around the galaxy, and it's like, oh, we're fearing this Rancor beast. And the guy immediately spoke, it was the mayor. So that's when I was like, all right, now it's getting deep. And by the way, the shot of cinematography in this series so far has been absolutely superb. Noah, I don't know how you feel about the cinematography for this, for these 2 past episodes. Holy cow. Every time I'm just loving all of these shots. I'm eating them up, where I'm like, any one of these could be my wallpaper on my laptop. Like, I'm loving it. So there was the one specific shot of the camera was looking upward at Fennec and Boba, and it was just so cool because he just doesn't seem like the guy to do something like that, as Noah you were saying. But the way they just moved forward and they were just looking up, oh, Boba just looks so what a king, sitting there while his chair moved for him, and he was just like, no movement whatsoever. And he was, that was, and then Fennec mocking the assassin and being like, a member of the Order of the Knight of the Wind. That was perfect. So I'm telling you, the dialogue, the writing, it's been everything for me. And the when I really like sunk my teeth into this was when Boba and Fennec travel with this dude with the Gamoran guards to the mayor, and we saw our good old friend again, that one delegate or whatever, representative, or ambassador, whatever you want to call him,
Major
the Twi'lek.
Domo.
Yeah, exactly, Major Domo. So we run into him again. We finally get to the Ithorian mayor. It's like, oh yes, all right, cool. By the way, shout out to Rebels for giving us Joe,
Yes.
for giving us
It's old Joe.
yeah, it's old Joe, for giving us old Joe in Rebels, where we saw him with that what would you call it, a vocabulator?
Yeah, something like that. Just like translates his speech from whatever language to English. But yeah,
loved it. So it felt like I was back watching Empire Day and Rebels, where we were with old Joe,
yes.
and he was speaking with his whole machinery. But yeah, for me, oh man, that scene was really great. It really felt like I was now in a like in a Star Wars underworld type series. We were in this crime drama. It's like, ooh, we're traveling around this city, and we're gonna look for answers. We're gonna get answers. So I dug them, just like walking here, getting trying to piece together the things. And the mayor claimed to not know Boba, and Boba was like, how could you say you can't? Oh, Tamora Morrison. I'm sorry, I'm just all over the place with this episode, because it is so, I'm telling you, the dialogue is just great, and the acting is superb. But that whole sequence of the interaction between Boba and the mayor, Boba was just like, how could you claim you don't know me if you sent this guy to kill me, and throws him on the floor? What a spectacle. It was just really superb. But Ari, like, what are your feelings on the whole sequence there, on the whole meeting between the mayor and Boba? Was it stuff you expected? Did it exceed your expectations? What's up?
Yeah, man. Honestly, like it just has me intrigued, like, and pretty confused, to be honest. I don't know what's happening. I don't know if you guys can shed some light on this, but it's like the assassin has said, okay, the mayor sent me. The mayor said, all right, I don't know who you are. The Major Domo is, I don't know what he's up to. Is he like, is this like a Padme situation where he actually is the mayor or whatever? Like, I'm just so confused. But or like maybe they're considering the Hutts, they're calling them the mayors. Maybe they're the ones that send them. I just don't know. But the mayor is cool. Like I'll give him that. But and yeah, the Major Domo, I don't know who that actor is, but man, I hate that guy, but I love the acting. Like, it's so cool. But
For sure.
yeah, and I love the word of advice that the mayor gives to Boba. I can't remember exactly what it is, but I'm sure that's foreshadowing something that is forthcoming in the series. But yeah, like it's just an overall cool sequence. And then when one of the mayor's guards just like immediately shoots down the assassin, like, I don't know, as if it posed some big threat. Like, I'm sure the assassin probably did. But yeah, I don't know. Noah, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with everything that you guys have been saying. The Major Domo, like, he's so fun to hate. Like, you love to hate him. He's so slimy, and you just like, you kind of want to punch him, but props to the actor for doing that.
Yeah.
And of course, I forget the mayor's name, but I love I love that costume, and I think there were like some subtle movements going on too, as well, with like the eye stalks and stuff. So I thought that looked really good. I think it's probably the best like live action Ithorian that I've seen.
Oh yeah, hands down, definitely.
Yeah.
100%.
And of course, Hutts. That was great to see.
Yeah, no, that's insane. Yeah, let's talk about the Hutts, because I mean, the twins, they were calling him Jabba's cousins. Like, man, what is going on there? We'll talk about the huge cameo in a sec, but like, yeah, Mike, what do you make of the Hutts?
I thought it great. Again, I love that we were we were trying to piece together the puzzle here, and the bit of advice that you were talking about, the mayor tells Boba, and he says it's going to be different being a ruler than a bounty hunter, and because you gotta deal with the, I think he said, the ruling families.
Yeah.
It's different than being a bounty hunter. And so then it's like, oh, what's going on? Like, we just met Garsa Quip. she was really cool. She seemed presentable. And now she's nervous. Something's wrong. And turns out you start hearing, I'm telling you this, the first 10 minutes of this, I felt like it was just a crime drama. Like I felt it very tense. The scene that we were talking about with the mayor and the way they killed the assassin. It's like, what the heck is going on? I felt really tense. And in this scene, I felt even more it was just a lot more tension. And it was like, wait, Garza, you're telling me that Garza Quip, the very nonchalant person and the very I don't even know how to describe her, like her attitude in the first episode where she was just came up like just I don't like very formidable and you know, she was ready to entertain her guests and stuff, and she meets Boba and now she's nervous. But it's like, all right, something's wrong because she's on edge, and she's like, can we sit you down? What's going on? And then the Huts come. And first of all, I love their appearance. I was just talking to one of my friends. Y'all probably know him, Darth Deacon, on Instagram. We were talking about High Republic stuff, and I was like looking at some of the things with the Huts in comic books, and I was like, why in War of the Bounty Hunters and all the comics that I've read of that contain the Huts, they always look so weird. Like they always do something with them, like give them pink hair, give them mechanical legs. They just do all sorts of things with the Huts. So when I saw these two pull up, the twins, I thought they were conjoined twins at first, but apparently they were just like laying together, whatnot, like intertwined, some cousin thing going on, whatever. But I definitely really like the Huts. Brought a new level of severity to what's going on with the modern day stuff. So yeah, I ate it up, and finally we get subtitles here. That's such a Star Wars thing that I just dig up. And so it just felt like we were back watching one of the films, the original trilogy films, you know, just having the Huts there. And yeah, I thought they looked great. For a second from far away, I thought it was Gardula, and then my mind shifted to Rada the Hutt. I'm like, where's Rada?
I wish it was Rada the Hutt. That would be so cool. Like Jabba's son coming back to take his claim or whatever. Like,
right. That's what I thought. And Noah, what did you think about the Hutts here? Did you think that it was Rada?
I completely agree. Now that you've mentioned it, I kind of wish it was Rada or whatever his name is. I have a feeling we might see him though. Who knows?
You never know. To be honest, especially with Dave Filoni.
If they're acknowledging what's his name, Kersantan, I'm sure they'd acknowledge Rada.
Yeah.
Yes. As Noah just said, that cameo of Black Chrysanthemum, I'm already itching to make posts about Black Chrysanthemum and be like, yo, I feel so seen right now. I feel validated. It's always nice when, you know, it's one thing to bring, you know, Ahsoka into live action and stuff. I mean, big moment, right? But when they bring such an obscure character from the comics, that's just another type of level of like, holy cow. Like this character hit it off back in 2015, 2016, and we just haven't really heard anything about him for a bit. I don't think, or at least in the public masses, but I remember everybody going crazy for a bit, being like, a Black Wookiee bounty hunter, how cool is that, right? So when he popped up and you just got the scar, you got the big old gun holstered, and you got his shoulder pads, really, it was so beautiful. And I was totally not expecting it. But people were like, oh, it's probably just like a nod to him and it's not actually him. I'm like, no, it's him. Like the way Boba and Black Chrysanthemum looked at each other, you just knew there was history there. And I don't want to spoil the comics. You got the same feeling, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
I don't.
That was like, I literally got chills at that. I was like, oh my God. This like, it was like a Wild West, like stare down. Like, ooh.
Yes. Yeah, very much so. And I don't want to spoil the comics, but please go read all the comics. Go read with Black Chrysanthemum because he is a force to be reckoned with. And like I said, the way they stared at each other, you could just tell their past history. And then Boba even threw some shade at him and was like, if you're gonna be throwing gladiators at me, expect a response. So that was really cool. And yeah, so that was such a cool obscure nod to fans who've read the comics. And as my friend Star Wars dude would say, we are a little bit closer to getting a live action Dr. Aphra. But I know you probably guys had the same reaction as I did with Black Chrysanthemum, but man, I just go back and I'm looking at stills from the episode. It's just a beauty. And I guess we'll see him later, but yeah.
It was like such a surprise, and something I like. You kind of just touched on it then, but to some people that fan service is like a big talking point, but this is like just done so well, because to anyone else, like I watched it with my dad last night, and I was actually telling Mike about this earlier, and to him he just goes, oh gee, that looks like a bad Wookiee. It's like, yeah, any like casual fan can just watch the episode and go, oh yeah, that's a Wookiee who's obviously bad. But for all of us, we're like, oh my god, it's Black Chrysanthemum. Like I have no idea if I'm saying that right, but yeah, almost. Anyways, but I just agree with everything Mike said. Like over the moon that he's in this, and hopefully he actually plays a prominent role. Because if not, it could be a bit of a waste. If they've made that whole design, like he looks great, like give him a part in this series, because like what a good addition to the show. Like I made a post before the series started who should be in the series, what I was thinking like Cad Bane Boss, but hell yeah, like Black Chrysanthemum, like why not? We haven't had him fleshed out ever really in a show or anything, so hell yeah, give us that.
What a cool dig. And I want to harp on this for a bit more, just because you bring up a good point. Like everyone's like Cad Bane, Bosk and stuff like that, and they gave us the unexpected, like again, such an obscure character that you would be like, oh, never in your life would you ever expect him to see in a live action, because he was just made for the comics. And it's only in those rare instances where characters are like, what's it called, like pulled from the comics itself or the books. Like when we saw Cobb Vanth, holy cow, it's the dude the dude from Aftermath. So it just felt like another one of those instances. And kudos to Filoni. Thankful for Robert Rodriguez and Jon Favreau for making this happen.
Noah, what did you think of this?
Like y'all took the words right out of my mouth. Dave Filoni has finally respected the comics.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You guys know how much I love Dave Filoni, but some things cannot be forgiven, and the Bad Batch premiere is one of those things.
Don't get us started. We can't go down this rabbit hole.
I'm tired of the crying.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna cry louder, Mike.
Cry louder, please.
Yes, I will.
Yeah, it's all good. Oh yeah, we could spend an hour talking about all that, but as Noah, as you said, some things cannot be forgiven, but you gotta tip your hat to Dave Filoni and be like, all right, I see you. Thank you for paying attention to the comics again.
I audibly shouted when he showed up. Like I'm not even joking. I was like, it's him.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was a jaw-dropping moment for sure. Oh, Noah, let me ask you something. Do you reckon the Hutts sent those assassins, or do you reckon something is something larger at play here?
Okay, so I know a lot of people prior to this episode were theorizing that they were part of Crimson Dawn. I never really subscribed to that theory personally, and it looks like that might not be true, although we still don't have the whole truth, so who knows. I don't know. It almost seems too easy to assume that the Hutts sent those guys. It could be that, of course, but now that we have the Hutts involved themselves, and like Black Chrysanthemum is here, I kind of think it's somebody else, some other force at play.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just like my biggest intrigue is, okay, so it's clearly not the mayor. I don't really think it's the major domo either, but why did the assassin say the mayor? Like, was he lying? Like, or did he think like, I'm so confused by what's happening, but in a good way. Like, yeah, I don't even know, but no, another question for you. Where do you reckon this story with all the Hutts is going to end up?
I have no idea. And I love that. That's so refreshing for once. But I mean, this is a pretty like untapped area of Star Wars history in terms of the new canon. So I'd like to see a I'd like to see Boba Fett, you know, keeping his throne, of course, and I'd like to see where they could take that. Yeah, kill the Hutts by all means.
And you know what, Noah, you bring up a great point about like, you know, drawing back to, you know, going back to the drawing board and placing the Hutts in there and being like, yeah, it's too obvious, too easy to connect, you know, the assassins back to the Hutts. And one of the Hutts said, I don't know which twin said it, but they were like, bad, or like they were something like violence is bad for business or something. Bloodshed is bad, is bad for business. So it's like interesting. So I didn't even think we were gonna see a live action Hutt for like ever. I just and they were bold enough, you know, CGI, it's very tough when you put it out and expose it in the sun because you could really see all the flaws. But this, it looked fine to me. Like it looked
I thought it looked great.
I thought it looked a little bit of practical and CGI, and the way they just came in with people, you know, how they were just talking about. See, this is, I love the consistency in this series so far. Like it's just there's these little lines that's like Boba was like, I walk on my own 2 feet, and then here comes these guys that like now everyone's looking around and being like, oh, here's a presence, right?
Yeah,
when Boba,
exactly.
when Boba and Fennec were walking through the streets, no one really, people gave like
yeah, there was a few head turns, but they were not the spectacle
nothing.
one bit. Like they had the Hutts, not only were they being carried around, they had drummers by their sides, like letting everyone know, walking out of their house, oh, what's going on out here? It's like,
Literally,
honestly, that is like, it reminds me of something Taika Waititi said in Disney Gallery of like Star Wars, like taking itself seriously, but like also just like being hilarious. Like to me, like that is just the most hilarious thing. Like 2 space slugs being carried around the streets with a bunch of drummers. Like, I don't even know, man. That just made me laugh so much. But then in the world, like it's taken very seriously. It's like, oh, okay, we gotta pay attention to these slugs. They're very powerful. Like,
really,
obviously they're not slugs, but you know what I'm saying. Like, I don't
they're
know.
slugs.
Find it hilarious. Yeah, sure.
You know,
I love the bend in the big the platform that they were sitting on. How it, like the middle was just like about to give way.
Yes, I noticed that.
That was a great, that was such a great detail. I was like, oh, I love that. Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Yeah. Oh yeah, just one last thing as well on Crimson Dawn. Actually, I still think there is a solid chance that they're coming into play here in this series. Like I'm still like 50-50 on it. I'm not too sure. I know there's talk about, you know, their theme plays in the Boba Fett theme. I don't even know. Like I don't really buy into that too much. However, I still think there is a solid chance that they're going to be in this, and there is something larger at play, and the only guess I have is Crimson Dawn. That doesn't mean that's going to be what it is. However, yeah, I think they're a solid chance. I'll leave it at that.
Ooh, next week during our spoiler breakdown, we'll find out, or maybe get a little bit more breadcrumbs. But until then, I really want to talk about the flashback sequence. Just because for me, as I said if you listened to last week's pod, I was saying that for me, the more interesting stuff, the bit more of the hooks of intrigue were in the modern day. So I really enjoyed the flashbacks, but I'm like, this could very much get tiresome if we do this for the remainder of the series. So when we the fact that we spend 40 minutes in the past in the sands of Tatooine was wild to me, because I loved every minute of it. And in the first episode, I was like, all right, cool. I really like this stuff. It was like really cool, but at the same time, as I said, don't know how I could do this for 7 episodes. Now I'm just on the other side. I'm like, please do this for the rest of the series. Holy cow. Just Boba, the look that we got at his character, and how he's transitioning from just being like kind of like a mindless bounty hunter to having a heart. And like I said in last week's episode, this man came back walking, holding his own chains, and it just gave me a like you know, some type of certainty that it's like, oh no, he's in it for the long run, and there's something that he's to gain from staying with Tuskens. And we finally get that with this episode where it just, I feel like I was on a spiritual journey, really, to be honest with you. But I want to touch on some things about these flashback sequences or sequence, this 40-minute sequence, because there's a lot to unpack here. And this is where for the episode, this is where it was all at. So let's talk about, we run back into our Tusken leader, the one that Boba was giving Boba a very hard time in the first episode. And immediately we find Boba and this leader dueling with the gaffy sticks. And I was like, okay, we're good, because I didn't even think about that. Not that I wanted this this series to connect the dots until to show us like why and how Boba got to be the character that he is in The Mandalorian. Because to me, that's all that connecting the dots could be done in a comic book, or in a novel if you really wanted to expand on some things, and get like really deep with the character. But like it was so cool. I was like, all right, oh, that's cool. Like that's why he was like so viciously swinging at the stormtroopers and knocking, like destroying their helmets and stuff and leaving it in pieces. Yeah, I loved that whole training sequence. And then this leader Best Boba, and Boba later they come back to this. The editing for this is also great, because the way that we just kept jumping back on scenes and seeing where the progression of some things were, it was just done where it wasn't confusing or out of the blue. It just flowed properly. So when they come back to the Tusken leader Best Boba's on his behind on the sand, and we later come back and it's like, all right, Boba was like, I want you to teach me that, and the Tusken keeps training him. And we come back to that similar fight, and now Boba learns the technique that Tusken taught him. However, the Tusken pulls a move that he didn't show him and knocks him right on his behind again. And it's like, oh, I love that so much. The teacher holding back a lesson from the student. I love that so much. So like I said, this whole entire 40 minutes was just a great look, intricate look at Boba Fett. But what did y'all think about that specific training sequence of just Boba with the Tusken leader, and really, like, I guess just before we dive into all like all the details of this, before we unpack the the cargo on the train, no pun intended, what are your overall thoughts on the flashback sequence?
You go, Noah.
Ari. Yeah, go ahead. Or Noah. Let's start with Noah. No, why don't you give us your thoughts?
Yeah, the flashbacks were just, or I guess the single flashback, it was just one giant flashback in this episode. It was great. I never knew that I needed this much Tolkien. Wow. I was watching Lord of the Rings. Tusken culture presented on these shows, but like Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, they've been doing so much heavy lifting for these guys. I mean, there were points where I was like genuinely almost driven to tears by like these Tuskens. That's not something I ever thought would happen. They're either scary and they're terrorizing our characters, like when they kidnap Shmi Skywalker and torture her, or they're just jokes, like you laugh at their goofy donkey voices and stuff. But no, like there were scenes like when they're burning their dead and they're crying, and I watched the episode with the subtitles on, and it said like Tuskens weeping, and that just like those words, I was like, dang, like that's I never thought that I would see
that. Is such
like
a neat detail. I did not notice that. That's awesome.
And then of course, like when they were talking to Boba much later in the episode near the end, and they're like these outsiders, they like come down on us with their machines, and like we like don't have anything. I'm just like, oh man, like I sympathize with these guys now.
Definitely. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, man, like it's funny because I think before this series I wasn't advocating for it, but I was definitely feeling like I really hope we don't spend 7 episodes on Tatooine. But here we are, 2 episodes of nothing but Tatooine, and I've loved it, honestly. Like, and look, if we spend all 7 episodes here, then like I'm down for it. Like, I would love to get and go somewhere else. However, with what they're doing, it's like, who cares, you know? But man, like, yeah, this stuff is so cool. That trainer, I guess you could call them, who's training Boba is just awesome. Like they almost have a Jedi sort of presence. Like the way they're cinematically shown, if that makes sense. For example, when I know we're not talking about the train yet, but when the train sequence is coming and they're all dealing with that, and then they're in a bit of trouble, and then you just see the trainer like zoom past on their speed. It's like they're coming to save the day, and then you can just slowly see all the Pikes heads like being taken away by them. Like, I don't know, they just have such a cool, like, yeah, just an insane presence. So yeah, but yeah, no, the training sequences have been awesome for sure.
Definitely. And well, you said it. This train pops up, and I thought it was a mirage at first. I was like, what are they looking at? And I'm like, oh no, like even when they were training, like this creature popped up from the sand, and I'm like, oh, we're gonna do this again for the third time. I was like, okay, let's see what's going on. But it just shows you like there's all these creatures underneath the sands of in Tatooine. But when there's just that far away object coming in, I was like, all right, is this gonna be a crate dragon again or what? And
Yeah,
every time, like in the last episode, I'm like, oh, is that a crate dragon? The
legit.
Martians did something to us, but
Yeah.
I thought it was another crate dragon, but instead it's this whole train that felt like comical to me in a way. It was just like,
Man, it was weird. I was like, what?
it was weird.
There is a train? Like, what is happening right now?
Right.
That was bizarre.
And then you had like, I'm telling you, the way this episode was edited, was shot, it was so cool that you got this far away shot of the train, and then you're like right up against the windows, and you have like all these like fire shooting coming from it and just hitting all the Tuskens and Banthas. I'm like, what is going on?
Oh,
like,
and can I just say,
yeah.
I have never felt more saddened by watching Tuskens die.
Yes.
And was anyone else looking out being like, oh, please tell me that wasn't the kid. Please tell me that wasn't the trainer.
Oh.
Like, I was like, oh God. But even still, I was like, oh no. Like, yeah, like Noah was even saying, like, just, yeah, I felt so much for them. I was like, no, stop killing them. And I was like, yeah, anyway, go on.
No, yeah. For real, Noah, you gave a lot of respect to the Tuskens, and I respect it because I feel the exact same way. But okay, that trade sequence is very cool when they first attack. But I was like, wait, I went into full nerd mode. I was like, wait, was that a Pike? That was a Pike. And the friend group that we were watching it with, there were some other people that was a Pike. I'm like, the Pikes are involved. What's going on? We got all this stuff going on with the political gang war going on here that's about to happen, and now the Pikes are here. What's going on? So I definitely started like, oh, is Crimson Dawn involved? Like, what's going on? Because then we get that cool, very cool moment where Boba starts like using hand gestures to talk to the Tuskens. Which I'm like, all right, oh, he's learned them. He's all cool with them. By the way, forgot to mention earlier, finally, in going back to the comics, I'm pretty sure in the same comics that Black Chrysanthemum appeared in, but Boba knows how to speak Huttese. So it kind of, in the first episode, it kind of bothered me. I'm like, why isn't he speaking Huttese to some of these people? Because they were speaking Huttese to him. So I'm like, he knows how to speak Huttese. Like, what's going on? So when he finally talks to the Hutts in Huttese, I was like, oh yeah, this is perfect. And then Black Chrysanthemum just pops up from the side. I was like, that was just a pure comic moment. But anyways, yeah, we have Boba talking to Tuskens, and now we finally get to go into that cantina, and we see some familiar faces. Ari, what did you think of seeing those familiar faces that were in deleted stuff of A New Hope?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, their names have flown right over my head, but I mean, I was like, yeah, this is cool. I'm down. I think we saw them in the trailer, so I was like, yeah. But I'm still pretty sure I want to hang my hat on the fact that was the Toshi station. Not 100%, but I feel like we can say it was. Do you agree?
I didn't even give it much thought, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, but that whole
comparisons but between Tashi Station and the deleted scenes and what that place was in the episode, I think they're the same place. They have a lot of the same markings and stuff like that.
No, exactly. But no, that whole sequence is cool, and I thought it was just nice to see, like, karma will get you because the guy is arcing up to the bloke being like, oh, what did you say to me? How dare you disrespect us? And then as soon as he starts to get a bit like, handsy with the bloke, Boba comes straight in, deals with them, takes the speeders, and beautiful.
That moment where Boba walks in and you just get his shadow, his outline, I was like, oh, this is Vader and Rogue One all over again. Things are about to go down. So no, what did you think about the see when the fighting happens, right? I felt that the camera work was amazing because it's just like it felt like sped up at times and slow down, and it just sporadic, and it just like totally went properly with the way the style of the show. So it's just like I love when the camera work, the music, and the editing, and it just all fits into the style of the show. Like I love that unison. But what did you think of Boba taking out some blokes and and what were your overall thoughts on? Is it Tashi Station? What are your thoughts on all that?
Well, I'm gonna choose to believe it is Tashi Station until further notice.
That's the way to be.
Yeah, but I thought it was great. To be honest, I was even more fixated on the fact that Cammy and Fixer were there. I admit I did have to just look up their names, but that's who those two people were. And I didn't know, I forgot their names, but I was just like, it's them.
Yes, same, like literally exact same in my head. I'm like, oh my god, those people.
Those people,
they look pretty good too. Like they look pretty close to the original actors, which is cool.
100%.
And I love how Boba just takes like a swig of some kind of drink before leaving, and then the bartender's just like, he's just nodding to himself like, yeah, you deserve that.
It's like, that one was on the house, no doubt.
Oh man. And having Boba escape with the speeders again, the way this is shot, it's like, oh, he stole a speeder from them. All right, cool. And then you have one.
Oh wait,
and then
he stole 5 speeders.
He stole 5 speeders, and then when he brings them back to the Tuskens, they all start taking them apart. He's like, no, it's a gift.
Yeah.
And he starts doing all his hand gestures, and it's like, oh god, this is like I said, Tem, what a solid actor. And I'm just, it's just these moments where I just pictured him, and I'm like behind the scenes and being like, just having fun with this. And I'm glad he's having fun because I'm having fun.
Yeah. Oh man. And can I just say my second favorite line of this whole episode? I'll get to my favorite line later, but my second favorite is when he's trying to explain how the speeders work, and then he goes like a bantha, and he like starts doing a little like dance on them, and I was like, oh my god, that is just hilarious. But I agree, you can just tell Temuera Morrison is just having so much fun like doing this series. So but this whole sequence was awesome. Like it was just the classic training sequences. Like at first they were terrible. Like he's literally trying to explain like forward, back, and then as soon as the Tusken jumps on, it just like reverses immediately. But like it was just cool. They just slowly built it up, and then and I don't know, it went for like 2 or 3 minutes, but then when the Tusken like finally stuck that landing that they were kept practicing, like I think everyone just did like a collective like, yes, like they did it. But no, those training sequences were awesome. And then it like you got the ultimate payoff when the train comes in. Boba's like, riders to the speeders, or like something like that. But no, that was awesome.
I think that my favorite quote from the episode, going off of what you said, is when is near the end when they're in that tent, and when the Tusken, I think I can't remember if it was the chief or if it was that female Tusken, but hands him the thing, and he's like, a lizard.
Yes. Oh yes, a lizard. Thank you for this gift. We'll touch on that a lot more later. But
by the way, this podcast is not sponsored by Geico, but we will be talking about lizards a lot later on. Again, we are not sponsored by Geico.
But yeah, anyway, so the train comes through, and this time they're much more prepared. We're still losing a lot of Tuskens though, which is breaking my heart. But yeah, the speeders go through, and we have what is yet another awesome train sequence in Star Wars. What do you guys think of it?
Yeah, I thought it was great. I mean, give me all the train sequences in Star Wars, honestly. I think I prefer Solo's train sequence just a bit more. Just because of the dynamic of it like twisting around and stuff around that mountain. But yeah, this was really good. I loved when that the one Tusken with the dreads, she needs a name, but when when she just crashes her speeder into the train and like goes into the window and starts taking all these pikes, that was so cool.
Oh yeah, 100%. Mike, what do you think?
What a highlight to the episode. Got all them Solo vibes. Felt like your typical. Actually, I felt it more than like your typical like train heist type thing. It just felt a little bit more than that. I seriously loved all the cutaway shots to the droid conducting the train, and he was just trying to. He saw that they were approaching the just gaining a victory over the pikes, and the droid just kept shifting all the accelerations and playing around with everything. It was just a well executed scene, and it gave me George Lucas vibes, because again, we kept cutting back to this droid doing some funky stuff, and he usually obsesses over shots like that, whether it's pit droids playing around or an extended shot of some creature walking across the desert on Tatooine or something, or he just has a certain emphasis on like droids and creatures. So it felt very George Lucas style. And when the droid decides to abandon the train, and he like the extended shot of like not only the droid like flying out, dipping out, but like just scurrying away like a spider and making some weird noise. I was like, this is so George Lucas. So I appreciate it. I appreciate those nods. But yeah, I will definitely be playing this scene again and again, just because of how well executed it was, and what an action worthy sequence that was. Just like, wow, the fight choreography has so much improved, as I said in the last podcast, over the Mandalorian. Like, you couldn't even when I go back and watch the Harris, I kind of cringe every time, because it's like y'all are walking down the hallway shooting, and it just still looks like it's not even wellly executed. But then you have this intricate train sequence, and it just feels like, wow, like it feels like we got a whole new vision on fight choreography and stuff. And I was just so in for this. And what an interesting way to do it in the middle of a freaking desert. And I just thought it was well done. Solo vibes, kind of train heist vibes, and it just early 2000 vibes as well. I think I said that before, but I just ate it up, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, after this we get a pretty interesting sequence. We've got Boba sort of becoming a Tusken. And I hate to nitpick, but there's two kind of things that, not nitpick, but I'm just curious about. The first thing is I do wonder why Boba doesn't have to wear the sort of helmet type mask thing. I'm curious what your guys' takes on that are. But also the other thing is like we've been talking about, the Tuskens, and I absolutely love what they did in The Mandalorian. And, I'm just amazed by what they're doing in Book of Boba with them. It's sensational. However, it's like, it does make me think that, some of the things that we see in the comics, like, not to spoil anything, but like, the ones that worship Vader and stuff, it kind of makes me just think like, I wish we just had a bit more consistency with the Tuskens, because the whole like worship Vader thing is like a little it's just a bit odd, it's a bit out of place. However, this stuff is like much more down to earth, makes a lot more sense. Anyway, that is like a major nitpick, but it kind of just makes me think like those Tuskens are not like these, like,
oh, for sure,
they're just not quite the same. Anyway, in my own personal headcanon, I'm just gonna have this was what I thought the Tuskens were. Anyways, but yeah, these scenes were amazing. But yeah, what do you guys takes on why Boba isn't wearing that helmet thing?
I'm gonna throw it to Noah because I'm curious what his thoughts are, because I have really no thoughts on this.
Well, I'm actually in the same boat as you. I really don't know. I hadn't even thought about it, but now that y'all mention it, I kind of wish that he did have a helmet.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
it doesn't bother me really. Like the hood is fine and all, but like a helmet, like one of those Tusken helmets for Boba would have been so cool.
Yeah, like the real life answer is obvious. It's like they want you to be able to identify who is Boba Fett, but
Yeah.
like, man, it would have been sick seeing him like in the full Tusken outfit, like fully in them. But let's talk about how this all unfolds. So they reward Boba for his efforts and in all the ways he's helped the Tuskens out, and so they give him a lizard. And as Noah was saying, he's a bit like, oh, a lizard, okay. Anyway, and then my favorite quote of the episode happens. The lizard jumps on him, goes in him, and then Boba says to himself, oh, it's a tricky little bugger.
Yes.
Anyway, just an awesome quote. Anyway, so goes up his nose, and then he goes on some weird spiritual journey. And I mean, people are going to be breaking this down for ages, I'm sure. Like, I don't really have a full like breakdown, like insane thought process of like what was happening and like his spiritual journey, but I just thought it was awesome. Like, and then of course he gets his gaffy stick, which is it's kind of like treated like the Jedi like treat their lightsabers, which I just thought was so cool. And it's like, all right, like it's almost like the wood, like he found his kyber crystal, and then it was like, okay, like now you need to go like craft it and whatever. So
Right.
man, like, yeah, I just thought all this stuff was so cool.
It reminded me of I guess, because Mandalorian's on this side, Boba Fett's this series is on this side, and it just felt like a parallel to Mando acquiring the Beskar for his armor, and then the armor crafting it and stuff. And him watching, and Boba was first watching, and then the guy was like, go ahead, you do it, go ahead and craft it. So yeah, I love the parallels to, as you're saying, the Jedi way, and then also what they did with the Mandalorian and the Beskar there. So appreciated all that. And yeah, I really want to dive in. We could spend 50 minutes alone, an hour, talking about this whole journey sequence. But yeah, let's I really want to talk about that lizard scene was very interesting. I was not expecting to see a lizard go into it. Went inside his nose, right? Or was it his mouth? Nose, right?
Nose, yeah,
it was his nose. And then they just like threw spice in his face. A tricky little bugger. And then they threw spice in his face, and I'm like, oh, what's gonna happen here? And this man starts walking, and I'm like, is he in a dream sequence or what's going on? And he's just wandering the sands for a bit, and then we find a tree, and I'm like, a tree on Tatooine? All right, I'm in. I mean, it makes sense, but it was just this soul tree, and it just felt very spiritual and very for some reason it felt centered on the Force. Everything I loved, the whole Gaffy sequence, and then him getting his robes, that was very cool, and the music complemented everything so well. Again, the music is very superb. Loved everything. I mean, I was so emotionally moved with this. I felt like I was experiencing this with Boba. There was his flashback sequences back to Camino. I was like, oh, a new Camino scene. That was very cool. And seeing his father fly away, that was very touching. And yeah, it just felt like, oh, when he was walking, you just got these flashes with the lightning of Boba with his old armor before his Sarlacc incident. So that was everything. I just had chills, and I felt like I was on a spiritual journey with Boba, acquiring all of his stuff and being inducted into the tribe. That was really cool. And yeah, to tie back into the episode title, love the double meaning in this. The Tribes of Tatooine, beautiful. Even if I speak ad nauseum about this sequence, I just still wouldn't do it justice, because that was class. It was masterful, and I think it was one of the best sequences in Star Wars, period. That was so moving. And when we finally get to the end and we get that whole dance ritual, that was everything. I said this on my Instagram and Twitter, all_Star Wars. But I literally was on the verge of tears. I felt so moved. just at the larger picture of things, this man was literally a prisoner a day ago, and now he was being inducted into the tribe. And who knows how long that Rodian was in there. He was probably there for weeks and stuff and months. Was never inducted. But get Boba, he does some noteworthy things, and now he's part of the tribe. And I felt so emotional about it. Found family is everything.
This just reminded me of I don't know if anyone's seen the A24 movie American Honey, but it actually has like pretty much the exact same ending to this. There's like, I'm not going to explain the plot of the movie, but like that parallel was just insane. Like it's just such a, I don't know. It's like, for me personally, I don't know if everyone feels this way, but ending something like that tribe feeling is just like so powerful. And I was like, yeah, man, just like what a way to end that episode. That just like solidified like how good this episode was. But like, yeah, Noah, what do you think of all this?
Yeah, like found family. I didn't think of it that way, but you're so right. That's such a Star Wars thing, and I never thought that I would see it with Boba Fett, much less with Tusken Raiders, much less with both of them. But I adored that weird, trippy dream sequence. I love when Star Wars gets weird. I love the lizard.
Lizard.
All those flashbacks were so cool. I love seeing more of Camino in live action. It's just so special, and I think part of that is because we just saw it get obliterated in Bad Batch. So
Yeah.
it gets me a little unreasonably emotional just seeing it again. Of course, the gaffy stick retrieval, and then the robe ceremony and the dance, all of that was so, I didn't feel like I was watching Star Wars anymore. I felt like I was watching like some old Western where like a cowboy gets accepted into like some Native American tribe or something. Like it very much had that feel of like, wait, oh yeah, this is Star Wars. And like, I love that. I love when Star Wars kind of doesn't feel like Star Wars, but it still does, but it's doing something very different. And I think that's kind of what Star Wars has just always done. So I love that. And I think Star Wars is becoming a little bit more like Dune, specifically with Tatooine, between like the Krayt Dragon, the Tusken Raiders, kind of reminding me of the Fremen from Dune, things like that. Good stuff.
Yeah. As you said, it definitely didn't, when we started getting that, like him starting to trot to the tree, and it was just very out of focus. And as you said, very trippy. I was like, this does not feel like Star Wars at all. But once they bring it full circle, it just does. And then you look back at it and be like, this is Star Wars. Like, I love when Star Wars goes weird like this, because it's just how Star Wars has always been. So yeah, that's a really great point.
It really makes me wonder too, like, is this how the Tuskens connect to the Force?
Yes,
I thought about I thought about it some more, and then I just came to the conclusion, like, of course it is. If everyone's connected to the Force, I guess this is their way of doing so. And like, that's so cool, because again, it's like, I never thought of that. I never thought of the Tuskens as real people who connect to the Force in their own way. And like, that's so cool.
Yeah, no, that's like, and that speaks of things like we've seen in Rebels, like with the Lasat, like how that, you know, we've seen their way of connecting to the Force. So like, exactly right. It's like everyone's got their own way and their own like thinking of like what the Force actually is and like everything. So yeah, no, that's awesome. But you know, the last thing I want to touch on before we start wrapping up and talking about like the future of the show and whatnot, I thought something that was just so interesting in the show that I just would never have expected from a Boba Fett continuation story. The way they're touching on like indigenous people and like colonization and that sort of thing. And it's like, it's so funny. It's like people just think the Tuskens are just like some marauders and whatever, and they're savages, whatever. It's like, no, they're just protecting their land. It's like just as simple as that. They're just protecting their land. And man, it's like, it's so powerful, and it's a good message. I've been really enjoying the way they've been doing that.
Last night, our friend Chelsea, after watching the episode, they went on a really nice tangent about all that, about how the stereotypes that have been Tusken Raiders and such, and how they were trying to like right those wrongs in this episode. And yeah, just seeing Boba take a stand, how you were saying, Ari, was just so unexpected. And I would have never expected this in a Boba Fett series. And just taking a stand and shutting those pikes down and being like, and he letting them go. I thought they were just gonna like kill them all. And Boba was like, no, you're free to go. We'll give you water. And this Pike guy was every little instance was like, oh, but the sun, oh, but the water, like we need water to survive. And he goes, well, you'll survive the way they've been surviving for generations.
Yeah, exactly. It's
with
like,
these
yeah, all right,
pods.
we're giving you water. Go. Like,
Yeah, go.
Yeah.
And he's like, you tell your crime syndicate leaders that this is their land, and if you want to pass through it, you will pay a fee. That was so everything, and that's really when I started to feel moved. It just felt very moving, and I just felt like doing good out there in the world for me. And I love when Star Wars leaves you with a really good feeling. So yeah, that scene was literally everything. And seeing reactions on Twitter to all that, and everyone is just in love with the message, the important message that sends. So period.
Definitely. Noah, any thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you said everything that I was thinking, Mike. I guess like in terms of Boba Fett's character, because I know a lot of people have been complaining that he's inconsistent or whatever. I don't know that he is. This episode really made me think a lot about his arc in the Clone Wars, and particularly that line that Hondo said to him, tell the Jedi what he wants to know, Boba. Like, it is the honorable thing to do. It's what your father wanted. And in preparation for this podcast episode we're doing, I went back and I read every instance of Boba Fett appearing in canon comics, at least the Marvel ones. I don't know about the IDW ones, but he's brutal in those comics. He doesn't usually spare people. In fact, there are even bait and switch moments where you think, oh, okay, he's gonna spare this dude, and he just turns around and he shoots them for no reason. Like this, he's brutal. But I think that what this show, whether it's intentional or not, has been showing us is that after the Sarlacc pit, it kind of really forced him to kind of just look at his life and go home and rethink his life.
Exactly.
In that Bacta tank, and really think back to his father, to his childhood, Camino, everything that in his life that's happened to him. So I see it as maybe he kind of, if you want to look at it this way, kind of lost his way, and maybe now he's becoming a bit more like his father, a bit more honorable.
You know what, Noah? While you were saying that, I was thinking too, if you read Age of the Republic comics and you read the villain side, there's the Jango Fett one. Just as he let these people go to send a message to their leader, he does that in this comic. There's someone that betrays. Yeah, there's someone that betrays him and his father, and Boba ends up besting him or whatever. Jango was like, well, you can kill him or you can let him go. It's up to you. And Boba goes, he lets the one guy who didn't do anything to them, he lets them go. And Jango was like, you let him go? And he's like, yeah, I did. It was kind of like, he didn't do anything to us, so we're not going to do anything to him. And plus, he's going to send a message out there, who we are, who the Fett family is. Yeah. And I thought it was a beautiful moment. And then watching this episode and getting that same similar vibe, but for the Tusken Raiders, wow, man, I got to do a post on that. Oh, the parallel on that is just strong and beautiful. And as you were saying and this comic came out, like, it's going to be 2 years now. So maybe 3. I think somewhere around there, but literally Savage Boba in the comics, it's like shooting people for no reason or whatnot. And then I think back to that one-shot comic with Jango Fett. You really get Boba's character right there in that moment before he's lost in his bounty hunting ways. And yeah, like how you said, falls in the Sarlacc pit, is literally forced to rethink his life. I can't wait to see what else the show brings more of his character, and literally making Boba Fett one of my favorite Star Wars characters. So thank you, Jon Favreau, Filoni, and Rodriguez.
Yeah, for sure. And also I think people got to remember, this kid lost his dad. He watched him get decapitated, so even though his dad was teaching him like the honorable way, all this stuff, he lost his dad as a kid, watched him get murdered in front of him. So of course he's going to go down a dark path and whatnot, but then he sort of goes down that dark path and then ends up getting knocked into a Sarlacc pit by a blind man. And as we've been saying, he's rethinking his life, but he's thinking, well, look where that had me end up. So that could be a lot why he's rethinking about, I'm thinking all the same things, like, why is that? Like, is that why? I don't know if they can explicitly answer that, or just, leave up to, well, I guess that's how it went. He just rethought it. But yeah, that kind of wraps up our big breakdown. But before we finish the episode, we just want to talk about what we think is next for like episode 3 and just the series in general with all this, what it's setting up. Mike, what do you think?
Man, I'm not gonna shoot myself in the foot like I did last week, where I'm like, no, it's all about the modern day. That's what I'm interested in. Because then this episode comes in and they heard me, and then they're like, nope, we're gonna show you what the flashbacks can do.
Yeah, I'm sure they heard you and changed the epised.
Of course they did.
Yeah.
You know how Star Wars is with the reshoots. Yeah. But anyways,
Favreau loves this podcast.
Yes, he does. He's a avid listener. Avid, I say avid because he only started listening once I joined the pod. But
that's cap.
No, I'm excited for all of this now. Like they showed us not only the potential of the flashback sequences, but they showed us the greatness of it. That's the thing. It's damn, like I'm in. If they decide next week to just keep it all in the present time, I'm so down. Just because what's the threat that's there and the breadcrumbs that we're following still. We got a little bit of it, but we dove into the character of Boba in the flashback sequences. So I'm not really expecting anything specific, but these two past episodes have been great. First episode was such I think a great start to the series, and this episode was just, I would say, one of the best Star Wars episodes in television. Like when people do a ranking list of like the best Star Wars TV episodes, like Rebels, Clone Wars, this will be on there. This will go down in history as one of the best Star Wars TV episodes and one of the best stories. So if it's going to be very hard next week for them to top this, but like I said, whatever they give us, I'm down. I just hope that it's a good time like the first episode was, and this one just blew it out of the water. So I don't know. I'm just in it. I'm in it for the intrigue. I'm in it for now. I'm a big Boba Fett stan. Give it to me.
For sure. And like for me, like to be more specific, I got two sort of big questions on my mind after this episode. I think, Boba, I'm like, okay, he's gone through all this thing with the Tusken Raiders. We see him 5 years later in The Mandalorian. He's still wearing his Tusken Raider getup. So with that, you can sort of somewhat assume he's with them for 5 years, okay? So then why after 5 years does he go get his armor and decide he wants to be a crime lord? Well, I have a sort of theory. I call it a sort of theory because I'm not sold that it's going to be true, but let's just call it a sort of theory for now. I feel like what could potentially be happening is we heard the Hutts come in and say, this is our land. I think the way they've worded that is very interesting. Our land. It's not just like this is our territory or something. They're saying this is our land. We know the Tuskens, that's their whole thing. It's like, the sand dunes, whatever, it's our land. So potentially Boba is trying to, I don't know, take the rule back to like take the title of crime lord so he can, I don't know, give the Tuskens their land back or something potentially. Because I just can't stop thinking, what is he actually trying to do here as a crime lord? I don't know. Like it's so confusing to me. So that's sort of like as I say, a sort of theory. So another thing I'm sort of wondering is with the Hutts, it's been 5 years. Bib Fortuna's just been sitting on the throne. Why now all of a sudden have they decided, all right, now we're going to come back and take what they think is their land? Like, what's going on there? Did they just think, oh yeah, Bib Fortuna, he'll do a good job, we can trust him? Was that what they were thinking? But yeah, I don't know. I'm quite confused, but I'm sure all these answers, I'm sure all these questions will have, good answers and whatnot. But those are two things I'm really wondering, and hopefully we get answered either in episode 3 or just sometime in the future. But yeah,
that's a really good thought. I probably my first answer or thing just to that, I could be wrong, is when Boba Fett enters the palace for the first time since his revival or whatnot, he walks in and Bib Fortuna is surrounded by all these people. So maybe Bib Fortuna was very enthralled into the political game and they just couldn't stick their hands in without getting repercussions from some things. And then now that Boba's there and he doesn't care for all that stuff, for all playing the long game, playing the political aspect of it, they're probably like, oh, it's ours. And we're back for the taking. And you know what? This kind of reminds me of a family rivalry when someone passes away and everyone just starts claiming things. Oh, I'll get the land. I'll take the garage. I'll take everything in the kitchen cabinets. So it's like we're finally getting that effect here with Jabba's absence now that his his little minion is now dead, and they probably don't see Boba as a threat. So I'm excited for what they have planned out with that. That's a really good thought. Noah, we got 5 episodes left. What do you think is going to happen, at least in the 3rd episode, the 3rd chapter?
I mean, I want to see a lot more of this, these flashbacks now. Like, I am so invested in this. Like you said, like they've got like 5 years to fill, which again, I forgot about that fact. I didn't think about it. I think with this podcast episode, we've proven that I don't think a lot. But
that's false.
That is false. That's definitely false.
Thank you. Yeah, like I said before, I feel so in the dark, and I love that. I'm sure that whatever happens in the flashbacks is going to mirror what's happening in the present day. I do hope that some of the present day aspects of the episodes get longer. Not that I dislike the flashbacks, but I think I'd like to see some balance, some push and pull between those two aspects.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you, and it feels like maybe this was the last. To me, it felt like this was going to be the last like big lengthy flashback we got, just because I was like scared that we have 5 years to fill with this, and it's like, are we really gonna like spend like per episode, what year 1 of Boba Fett as a Tusken Raider, year 2, it just,
yeah.
And by the end, like you would have him acquire or him building up to that. And I just love that the flashback was like him earning that place, him getting that get up that we see him in the Marshal. And it was like, okay, yes, get that. I'm so glad they got that out of the way. I appreciate that they, gave him the gaffy stick. And, there was theories out there that like, oh, he killed a Tusken, fought him in battle, took his gaffy stick, forged his own clothes and stuff like that. And it was like, no, it's a lot more meaningful. It's a lot more meaningful story. And that's what I just love about these brilliant creators, is that they're adding meaning to all of this. It's not, oh, Boba Fett survives, he escapes the Sarlacc pit with his jetpack, and boom, he's back in action. Like, no, he has to climb his way back up, and on that climb, he changes as a person. So I just think I was foolish to say, I'm not really excited for Book of Boba Fett. Really foolish, because I should have never underestimated these fellas and company. And I'm just excited for what's to come. And like I said, there's a lot of intrigue. The beginning 10 minutes of this episode felt like a political drama, and I was just all in, and I can't wait. All right, everyone, we've reached that point of the show where we answer your questions. If you want your questions read out loud on the show, be sure to DM Star Wars _exchange or all_Star Wars, or just respond to the question tab, and maybe we'll get your question answered on the air. So because of time, we're only going to answer a couple here, but I really appreciate everyone who submitted a question. And we all have questions, so make sure for episode 3 if you want yours submitted, if you want yours possibly read on the show, DM Star Wars _exchange or DM me all_Star Wars, and we'll take in your question. So one question we got is from our friend Dennis, and Dennis asks, were you hoping to see Tusken Raider culture explored more? Personally, it was really refreshing. Noah, what did you think about all I know you touched on this earlier about all the Tusken Raider culture, but do you want to see more of it? How were you feeling about in retrospect what this episode did?
Give me all the Tusken Raider culture, lore, just give me everything. Like, this is more than I wanted, and I never knew I wanted it. I think it's great.
All right, thank you. All right, we have a question from Tom, and he asks, do you think the Tuskens will all be killed, leading Boba to take revenge on Bib Fortuna? That sounds like a theory, but speaking of theories, I'm gonna send that to Ari. I know you're the theory man. What do you think about that?
That is a very decent theory. Like that is on. I didn't think about that at all, but that's honestly just as I can see that happening just as much as I can see the theory I said before happening. So that would be quite the emotional sort of the emotional hook, you could say.
Yeah.
They could and that would really bring the flashbacks full circle. So yeah, definitely potential.
Oh yeah, that would make us watch the end credit scene a lot more different in The Mandalorian. All right, one last question. This one comes from Shane. This is for me. He goes, do you think we'll see Rada the Hutt as a possibility after seeing the Hutt twins? You know what, Shane, anything is possible, and I'm always down for more Rada. So those are the questions, everyone. Make sure to, again, we could only answer a couple today just because of time, but please DM Star Wars _exchange or all _Star Wars and specify that your question is meant for the podcast. Thank you.
Also, you'll see around 5 hours before we record on a Wednesday, Mike and I will throw up on our stories a little questionnaire on Instagram. So
if we remember.
Yeah, if we remember exactly. So you can also throw it in there. But yeah, let's get cracked into our overall ratings real quick to wrap it up. Noah, we'll start with you. Out of 10, how'd you feel about the episode?
Strong 8.5. Strong 8.5. I think some people will say that I rate things pretty harshly. I'll give things an 8 and people will be like, that's so low. Like, I think that's really high. So
yeah. Yep, fair enough.
I just like to set the bar for things really high. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like that.
And if you want more of his harsh criticisms, check out his Letterboxd account. All right. And as for me, I'm going to rate this episode 9 out of 10. I've only watched it once, so I can increase that score or decrease it. But I've really only watched it once and took so many notes, but and mental notes. But yeah, this episode was just everything. And honestly, I might give it a 9.5 because I just keep thinking about it. So yeah, Ari, finish us off. What's your rating on this?
Yeah, I said last week was 7 out of 10. I said I'm going to leave some room for improvement, and boy, the room has been filled because I'm giving it a very good 9 out of 10. Loved the episode. Yeah, this was outstanding, but yeah, it was awesome.
Ari drank the Kool-Aid. Beautiful. And of course, we couldn't end the podcast without thanking our friend Noah, the _warrior. Did I say that right?
It's the _Star Warrior.
Apologize, everyone.
Fake
His
fan.
account has been deleted many
Fake
times, so
fan.
its usernames are always changing. But
I get it wrong myself.
Noah, thank you for joining us on the podcast. You're a favorite returning guest. And yeah, where can people find you, keep up with you, and chat with you, and definitely read all your reviews?
Yeah, okay, so I've deleted most of my social media, primarily Twitter, so don't look for me there. But you can find me most active on Instagram and Letterboxd.
Absolutely.
And the usernames are the same, the _Star Warrior.
There we go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks
There we go,
heaps
Noah.
for
Thank you.
coming on, Noah, and we will definitely have you back on at some stage. So yeah, appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thanks. It's always a pleasure.
Hopefully when we have you back, it's to talk more about Tuskens, but we'll have to wait.
Yes, I'm a Tusken stan now.
Man, oh man, I had a fun time breaking down another episode of the Book of Boba Fett. Listen, there are 5 episodes left. Be sure to keep listening to our spoiler reviews. We love having you all with us. So if you haven't already, please drop a like, comment, rating, or review, depending on how you're listening. And subscribe or follow the channel on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever else podcasts are available. Be sure to also keep up with us on our socials. You can find me at all_Star Wars and on Twitter at _Star Wars. Ari, where can the good people follow you?
I'm on Instagram at Star Wars _exchange and at Twitter at the SW Exchange.
Well, we'll see you next time. As always, thanks for listening, and may the Force be with you.
Oh, it's a tricky little bugger.